All right, so let's see here. How do I start this thing? Oh my goodness, I don't know. Oh, here we go. All right, so welcome to our Case 12 Pensacola Surgery Center's presentation. This is brought to you by Tyson, Marielle, Matthew, and Michaela. So a little bit of background into the whole case. Gary Hudson was appointed as CIO and CFO, and he's facing quite a few investment decisions. The first one is he wants to invest some excess money, exactly $50,000, into some marketable securities and see what he can earn there for future use for the surgery centers. More specifically, he's looking at investing in a certificate of deposit. So part of the problems will be seeing if that's a good option, seeing how much he would have to invest in order to get a certain future value. Secondly, the surgery center recently got new hardware and software system to handle patient billing. Now the system will need to be replaced in 5 years, and the estimated cost is $200,000. In order to start raising the funds now, Gary would like to either invest a lump sum into an interest-bearing account today or make annual payments into the same account. So similar issue. Instead of knowing what we would have at the end, we need to know how much we need to invest now in order to pay for that in 5 years. The third problem that Gary's going to run into is he has some extra space at one of the locations, and they're thinking about leasing it out for 5 years. Now, they need to renovate it, and to renovate it would cost them $40,000. Due to some unusual terms in the proposed lease contract, they're going to have an uneven pattern of net cash inflows. Luckily, that's given to us so that we can make the proper calculations and analyses. And yeah, it's pretty sporadic, pretty all over the place. So we're going to be using time value analysis, which we can find in Chapter 9. Has a lot of good resources for us. And we get to answer all these questions. So questions 1A and B are: consider the $50,000 excess cash. Assume that Gary invests the funds in a 1-year CD. A, what is the CD's value at maturity if it pays 10% interest? And B, what will its future value be if the CD pays 5% interest, or what if it pays 15% interest? So each of those, we're just looking at different rates and using our future value solution to find how much money we'd be making given our different interest rates. For questions 2A and B, we're basically reworking parts A and B from question 1, but this time we're assuming that the CD has a 5-year maturity instead of the 1 year here. So same questions, just looking at a different number of years. Now for question 3A, we're considering the surgery center's goal of having $200,000 available in 5 years to buy a new patient billing system, like we talked about in background. So the big question here is, what lump sum amount must be invested today in a CD paying 10% annual interest to accumulate the needed $200,000? As you can see here, we've gone through our equation to find our present value needed in order to reach our desired future value. And we're looking at $124,184.26. Now consider question 4A. We're looking at a second alternative for accumulating the funds to buy the new billing system. In this one, we're looking at putting in a lump sum investment, and we're looking to assume that 5 annual payments of $32,000 are made at the end of each year. This question is pretty simple, like what type of annuity is it? It's just an ordinary annuity. Since we're making a series of fixed payments at the end of each given accounting period, or in this case, at the end of each year. Now, here's questions 4B, C, D, and E. These ones involve a little bit more future value, present value, little annuity and rate. Looking for all of this information. It's not too bad in Excel, right? But it would take forever to do longhand. So here are the different questions. There's what is the present value of this annuity if the opportunity cost rate is 10% compounded annually, or about 10% compounded semi-annually. We've got C, which is what is the future value of this annuity if the payments are invested in an account that pays 10% interest annually. What about 10% compounded semi-annually? For D, what annual interest rate is required to accumulate the $200,000 needed to make the purchase, assuming a $32,000 annual payment? I'm just kind of combining the 4A and question 3. And then the last one, 4E, is what size annual payment is needed to accumulate $200,000 under annual compounding at a 10% interest rate. As you can see, we've done all the calculations, and we'll have plenty of discussion on the discussion board to see what you guys have come up with, and see if there's anything we can learn from each other. Now we've got question 6, A and C. This one is asking what the present value of the annual lease cash flows if the opportunity cost rate is 10% annually. That was basically just doing a net present value formula in Excel. And we're looking at the $47,328.61. Now, question 6C is, does the office renovation and subsequent lease agreement appear to be a good investment for the company? Given that in the background it says that the renovation will cost $40,000, and the value of the lease, given our uneven net cash flow, is $47,328, then we'd have a positive net cash flow. So I would say it's a pretty good investment for the company at this time. Lastly, we've got question 7. It's a big, long one. So we're assuming that it's 5 years later and the company is unable to accumulate that $200,000 that they needed so badly to make that software purchase. Instead, we're forced to borrow the $200,000, and the loan calls for repayment in equal annual installments over a 4-year period, with the first payment due at the end of 1 year. Assuming that the company can borrow the funds at a 10% rate, what amount of interest and principal will be repaid at the end of each year of the loan? So this one, you just use an amortization table, and using that, you can calculate the payment per year, how much interest you're paying at each year, how much principal, and then I threw in the remaining balance to show you that it does get to 0, but you pay it off in 4 years. And I even included some totals just in case you were curious. And that's pretty much it, guys. I mean, here's our works cited. I'm excited to discuss this with you this week. Hopefully we can all learn a lot.